Well, hello, my lovely friends, and thank you for joining us for this week's Astro Weather Report. I am Kesenya, your Astro Weather Girl, here with you to tell you all about the major influence energetically for us this week in the week of the 30th of October through to the 6th of November. So thank you for joining me for this new moon report. We're looking at the new moon in Scorpio on the 5th of November at 12 degrees of Scorpio. But it is Scorpio season. Interestingly, you may not know this, but Scorpio is the sign that rules hay fever. And in Australia, it is October. And in October, where I live, it's hay fever season. And it was so interesting for me to observe that as soon as the sun moved into Scorpio, my whole family got hay fever quite chronically. And I had to go and stock up on certain medications that help us deal with that at this time. So if I get a bit itchy-eyed during this reading, you'll know why. Thanks, Scorpio season, for that one. Let's talk about new moons. So new moons are a time when we have the sun here and the moon sitting at the same degree. And what happens then is that the moon becomes invisible. It gets lost in the glare of the sun, just like any other planet does when it goes within a certain degree of being within the sun, and it's considered to be combust. So in a sense, the moon is combust. And on the day that the moon becomes new, it's actually cazimi with the sun. It is in the presence of the king. And so the queen, if you like, goes before the king and they have a consultation. It's very interesting, but it's not a time for us to set our intentions. A lot of astrologers and a lot of new age practitioners and so forth will tell you, oh yes, set intentions under the new moon, go for it, and the universe will respond. It doesn't actually work like that. And the reason is the moon is dark, the moon is invisible. Now the moon is a highly manifesting planet, and we need it to be visible in the sky in order to manifest the energies of the moon, or whatever our intentions might be. So when it is dark, in a combust state, invisible for the 3 days that the moon is within orb of the sun's glare or lost in the sun's glare, this is a time when we should not be attempting through any mechanisms to manifest our intentions or to set intentions under this energy. And if you think about it, the 3-day context shows up in mythologies and stories and historical accounts around the world. The first two that come to my mind initially, and I know there are many others, are obviously the biblical accounts where Jesus was in the tomb for 3 days, in the darkness, in the realm of the dead, let's say, for 3 days. Obviously, Jonah in the belly of the whale is another biblical one for 3 days as well. So 3 days is very symbolic, and it correlates to the symbolism of the moon being obscured by the sun for 3 days every month. So it's not a manifesting time, okay? But it is very symbolic, and you'll see it throughout many mythologies throughout the world. But what can we do during those 3 days? Well, it's a time to go inward, to do some self-exploration, to ponder on your dreams, your goals, and your desires now, to think about them. What do you want? What do you want to achieve? Who do you want to be? Think about where you want to be. It doesn't mean that you're setting the intention to get there or to take action steps towards getting there, but it's about introspecting those desires and hungers in your life. Now you can set intentions once the moon becomes visible. That little sliver of a moon that you can see just after a new moon, or say 2 days after the new moon, you'll see it in the sky if you're a sky watcher like me. Well, during that phase, when the moon first becomes visible, that's the time to set intentions. And that's going to be, so the moon is going to be cazimi with the sun, or in conjunction with the sun, on the 5th of May. That's when we're having our new moon. And the times for your part of the world when this will be occurring will appear in the description box below. So check that out if you'd like to know the exact time and date. The 5th of November is when that's occurring. So the 6th of November, the moon will still be in its invisible stage. And then around the 7th, you'll be able to start working with your intentions and setting intentions, setting goals, taking action steps forward to see them manifest. Once the moon begins to wax in the sky. Now, waxing in the sky, for people who are new to astrology or astronomy and they don't know what that is, it means that the moon is going to become more visible, growing in strength, growing in visibility all the way around till we have our full moon over here in the sign of Taurus. That's coming up, and that will be the eclipse. Hence, I wanted to get in and start talking about these moon events now with my wider community as we're leading into the eclipse season. So the moon, as it's growing, is its waxing phase. When the moon is disappearing, once it comes out of its full phase and starts growing smaller and smaller as it heads back to the next new moon, that is the waning phase. Okay, just so people who don't know. So what can we do? Well, it's a good time to set intentions after the 7th of November. So set an intention to have a ceremony around the 7th of November in order to work with the newly visible moon. Now you could also, what can we do during the days when the moon is out of sight, those 3 days? Well, it's actually a really good time to do a detox. So a liquid diet or a juice fast or something like that. Excellent to do on the day before the new moon, the day of the new moon, and the day after the new moon, because this is when the body tends to release most of its fluids and its toxins. We kind of gush it all out, not quite literally like that, but it's been proven by science. We let go of our toxins and unwanted waste products and unnecessary fluids, flush them out of our system. So as such, if you need to get any injections or take any toxins for whatever reason, do it around the time of the new moon, because it will quickly flush out of your body. So keep that one in mind. It's also a good idea to avoid alcohol under this new moon energy during that 3 days, because stick to your pure foods, stick to your pure, get my words out, liquids, so that it can support your body and assist your body in this flushing out process that it naturally wants to do. We're cyclical beings. We're beings of energy attuned to the rhythms of the earth and the solar system. And so let's work with that. Let's support our body in being the best that it can be by helping it to flush out our system. Now, what about when the moon becomes visible on the 7th and starts to wax around to the full moon phase? What can we utilize energetically during that time? Well, when the moon is waxing, it's growing, as I said before, it's increasing and it's heading towards its full capacity. So it's a terrific time to actually grow our weight if that's something that we desire. A lot of bodybuilders want that. My son seems to want that. He's into the weightlifting and all that sort of thing. So if that's your desire, to increase body bulk and mass, if you want more muscle mass, this is the best time, because you will grow that easily during the waxing moon phase. And if you put on weight during the waxing moon phase, you're also likely to retain it for longer. It will stick with you. Keep that in mind. If you don't want to put on weight, you must watch what you eat for the next 2 weeks while the moon is waxing, so that the weight doesn't stick with you for the long term. Some people might want that if you're a bodybuilder or whatever, but most women don't. Now, this is also a wonderful time if you need to begin some sort of exercise program, because you'll be more likely to stick with it for the longer term if you begin it during the waxing phase of the moon. And according to a study in the Indian Journal of Basic and Applied Medical Research, when the moon is full, now this is happening in 2 weeks' time from now, that is when our heart is functioning at its strongest capacity. Interesting medical study there. And this is another reason to hit the gym during the waxing moon phase, so that we can build up to that full heart power at the full moon. We don't just sort of jump into things. We're going to increase our heart strength over the next 2 weeks till it's at its full capacity and maximum this coming full moon in Taurus, and every full moon for that matter. So during the waxing moon, it is a great time to get into that exercise routine and get that happening. It's also a really good time to do skin treatments and to rejuvenate your skin. Think things like masks and peels that help your skin. Your skin responds better to those things during the waxing moon than it does during the waning moon period. It's the best time for oil massages or herbal compresses or any kind of moisturizing baths and moisturizing lotions, because the skin is at its most absorbent, so it's going to get the best results out of doing those sorts of things during the waxing phase. It's not a good time to tan your skin though, because the skin is more absorbent and we are therefore prone to being sunburnt more quickly, and of course we don't want that, because that's damaging and it brings wrinkles and it brings aging faster than we would like. Believe me, I live in Australia, I know all about that. And it can also make your skin a lot drier than usual if you try sunbaking during the waxing moon. Better to wait till the waning moon to try the waxing, or not waxing, the that's another whole other topic, but to try the sun tanning influence. But it is the best time to dye your hair. So during this next 2 weeks, if you have to dye your hair, like I'm probably going to have to, then your hair will tend to absorb dye better and the color will last longer. It'll also be easier to achieve your desired color and shade, simply because of the energy of that the moon brings to our lives during its waxing phase for the next 2 weeks. Taking care, similarly, of sun-damaged hair or any kind of damaged hair, split ends and that sort of thing, is best done under the waxing moon as well, especially when the moon is as close to full as possible. So that's when we have the moon sort of around, in this case, it'll be around the sign of Pisces, Aries, Taurus. You're going to get the best results. So if you need to book a hair appointment for conditioning treatments or cutting off those split ends or something, do it at that point. It will give you the best results, the happiest results, and the most long-lasting results. Eyebrow treatments, they're also very successful under the waxing moon as well, because when we if we want to make our eyebrows thicker, this isn't so good, let's say, for plucking hairs where we don't want to see them ever again, but it is good for treatments to the eyebrows or the eyelashes, because it will make the hair of our eyebrows and lashes thicker. It'll help to fill in patchy brows, and so full brows are very trendy at the moment and fashionable, so people might be interested in looking for those sorts of treatments to make them luscious. Now, if you're into gardening, as I am, then planting new plants should be done under the waxing moon cycle as well. All plants except root vegetables. They're the odd one out. Root vegetables will tend to do better if planted during the waning moon. Keep that in mind. But every other sort of vegetable and plant tends to do better during a waxing moon phase, because it's the growth phase. As I said, the moon is increasing and growing, and so too will your plants. They will settle into the soil. They'll, get a better head start and grow faster and stronger if they're planted during this phase of the moon cycle. Isn't that interesting? Fascinating what science has proven that the moon does for us in our lives on Earth. So now to the personal stuff. Do you have planets around 12 degrees of Scorpio around here in the chart? Those planets are going to be activated. If you have planets there at 12 degrees, they're going to be activated under the new moon energy because of this conglomeration of the sun and the moon there. So what might the sun be doing? The sun, if you have your natal sun here, happy birthday to you, because it's Scorpio season and you're getting your solar return. The sun is returning to its natal position for you. If you are a Scorpio sun person, happy birthday. So the new moon on your sun, if it's at 12 degrees, will be bringing you new goals in career. You'll be able to look at setting up new structures for career and your social personality that you put out there to the world, the way you shine in the world. If you have the moon at 12 degrees of Scorpio, you might get a new emotional reset during this time. We're going to talk about that a little bit further on in this reading. But you might also get a reset in what you need to feel fulfilled in life, to feel satisfied in life and content with going forward. There might be a reset of those moon needs as well. If you have Mercury at 12 degrees of Scorpio, you might be seeing some new skills arise, a new desire to learn something, or a new interest and curiosity in something that comes out of this new moon on your Mercury position. If you have Venus at this point, 12 degrees of Scorpio, well, for some people with Venus here, it might indicate a new love is on the horizon. Actually it would be a sudden and quite surprising and liberating new love, considering what this new moon may bring us. Again, I'll talk about that in just a minute. But new love, but also new financial opportunities, and maybe a new valuing of something that you haven't valued before. You see something and suddenly you start to treasure it in a new way. That could be a tangible item or a person or an idea, something in your life you'll start to value deeper because of this full moon on your Venus if you have it at 12 degrees. Now, if you have your Mars at 12 degrees of Scorpio, new vigor, new passions might enter your life, new energy for something. You might notice suddenly you feel very enthusiastic about maybe something that you've never felt enthusiastic about before. So new adventures may await for people with Mars at 12 degrees of Scorpio, and Jupiter at 12 degrees of Scorpio would indicate that this new moon could bring you some sort of new belief system or a new understanding, new appreciation of culture, or some sort of new joy. Jupiter is joy. Something joyful coming into your life if you have Jupiter here. Yay, delightful. Saturn here at the 12th degree of Scorpio might bring new structure into your life, setting something up, organizing something afresh, rejigging something so that it works better and is more efficient. Can be very helpful. You might review any limitations that you have on your life under this new moon, or you might be called to step up into a new level of maturity or responsibility because of this new moon. If you have Uranus here at 12 degrees of Scorpio, then you may be in for some really exciting new hit, new experience, something unexpected. And I will also point out, if you do have your Uranus at this point, you will be having currently, and Uranus is missing from my wheel. Just a minute, I must find that. Well, I couldn't find him, so I've used my old version of Uranus there, and I'll have to do a big hunt through my house. Just interestingly, as an aside, we had a massive storm come through Victoria last night, and my front door, which was locked shut, blew open. It was just that violent a storm. My front door blew open and blew all my planets everywhere. So he could be God only knows where, and of course it would be so Uranian to be the difficult one there. the intriguing one. Where is he gone? But as I was saying, if you have Uranus at 12 degrees of Scorpio, you will be currently experiencing a midlife transit known as the Uranus opposition. And that makes this new moon extremely important for you, because you will be going through a lot of liberating experiences, new insights, new aha moments, and maybe completely turning your world upside down. If you are going through a Uranus opposition, I would encourage you to do my very wonderful little course on the midlife transits. We go through 14 different transits that everyone experiences in their midlife years, so you can understand what to expect and how to navigate those years of your life with greater wisdom. Check it out. It's on my website under the Learn Astrology page. Okay, moving along. If you happen to have Neptune here, would you have Neptune there? Yes, you could have. If you're a little bit older than I am, you could have Neptune here, and this would indicate that this new moon might bring you some sort of new creativity or new spiritual experience or insight, and even maybe a new feeling of glamour in your life in some way, which could be fabulous. If you have Pluto here at 12 degrees of Scorpio, you might be entering into, under this new moon, into some sort of new personal power, a new transformation of self that could be very, very exciting. So that's what it means for each of the planets when they're at 12 degrees of Scorpio and interacting in the natal chart with this particular new moon. Let's take a look at the chart of this new moon. Well, we've got obviously the sun and moon in a conjunction with one another, as we do for every new moon. But check it out. We've got an exact opposition, which I just spoke about, with the planet of surprises, like going missing, the planet of surprises, Uranus, and this is at an exact degree because Uranus is at 12 degrees and so is this Scorpio New Moon. That is not something to be trifled with when we have planets that are at the exact degree in a new moon or a full moon. It's very powerful, very strong. So what's this going to be all about? Well, the moon, as I said, it's going to become dark for the 3 days around the new moon. So it's a time, as I said, for becoming introspective and weighing up our scorpionic world. What do I mean by that? Well, it means assessing how we feel, assessing who we are at the very core of our being. No more hiding things in the basement of ourself. No more hiding our weaknesses, our struggles, our darknesses. They can be illuminated now. Remember, the moon is disappearing, but the sun is illuminating everything. So it's really illuminating the core of our being. No more hiding, as I said. So expect that deep, introspective things that you usually ponder on and hide away might suddenly be revealed to you now in a fresh new way that could change your life. And it might be revealed to you through some outer circumstance that happens suddenly. Uranus is sudden experiences, sudden influences that change the whole way we see the world. So, no more hiding things. Expect to see things revealed to you. This moon is going to ask you where you're failing to fulfill your heart's desire and what transformations are you going to make to remedy that in your life. So, during those 3 days, when the moon goes dark, we ponder, we think on those thoughts. What is my heart's desire? What transformations do I need to make to fulfill my heart's desire? And then when the moon becomes visible, we can start to make intentions and take actions to see those things change and transform in our life. But as the major emphasis on this new moon period is with Uranus in Taurus, expect the unexpected. Don't be surprised to see power struggles between the old order of things and the new that wants to come in you. I'm not talking about the collective, although that may well be the case as well. But more than anything, I'm referring to you. What is it in you that you've been stuck in a rut with the old, and something new is trying to come in and saying, let me in, here I am to bring you new life. Don't be surprised to see a bit of a seesaw or what do they call them at the old picnics that I used to go to with the Sunday school? Tug of rope with those new ideas that want to come in and the old that you think you've got to cling to. I want you to be also very wary if you do intend to do ceremony, and we'll talk about ceremony in just a minute, but if you do intend to do some sort of ritual or ceremony with the new moon, as a lot of people are getting into these days, and you're working with moon energy during this time, because things, if you do it on the 7th, of November, things are going to manifest quickly. Uranus influence, boom, it just happens like a lightning bolt out of the blue. So whatever energies you're working with, it could manifest quickly, but as is the erratic nature of Uranus, not always 100% as you might be hoping that it will manifest. So again, I reiterate, be careful about where you're putting your energy for ceremony and intentional energy work during this particular period. Okay? Now, Sun opposite Uranus. What does that mean? When we have a new moon, the energy that's stronger is obviously the sun, because the moon's invisible, as I've already illustrated. So when we have the sun opposite Uranus transit like this happening, it's a once a year transit that really stirs us up. The sun rules Leo, and Uranus, in the modern astrological terminology, it rules Aquarius. Now these two, just looking here is Leo and here is Aquarius. They're opposite polaric energies. So here we've got these two polaric rulers, playing out, doing the tug of war, doing the push-pull with one another. And these two big boys can behave not aggressively. These two aren't aggressive energies, but they're very polaric energies. So they're behaving in that sort of pushing, pulling, don't know which way to turn kind of way under this new moon. So this is an energy of change. It's an energy of shaking things out of a rut, of getting epiphanies, of exciting new people and events coming into our lives. And we might be sort of caught between the old and the new again that wants to come in. So in that sense though, because there's so much newness wanting to come into our life with this energy, it can act on us like a tonic. If we've been spinning our wheels, if we've been stuck in a rut, if we've been feeling like we can't break free, then that tension builds to a point now with this push-pull energy where suddenly somebody lets go of the tug-of-war rope, and the change just comes flooding in. Boom, the newness comes in all of a sudden, unexpectedly, lightning bolt-like. So this energy of change and epiphanies and new things is crouching at our door. Maybe that's a good thing. So don't get too comfy just yet, though. If you're feeling this stuckness, that's there, get ready. It could just burst out when something in the energetic field lets go of that tug-of-war rope, and suddenly something bursts out of us, sometimes inappropriately, because it's been building up and we're feeling so frustrated and so sick of the old things, and then because of the polarity, something bursts out, and as I said, maybe inappropriately. So expect that your best laid plans could perhaps go a little bit awry under this influence, and look, could be a bit chaotic for a while. It will sort itself out eventually, but there could be a lot of upheaval that causes chaos in your life, and maybe that could be refreshing if you've been stuck for a while. Male authority figures are also seen through the sun. It's the king, So male authority figures could really behave erratically under this influence. Hello, anybody been observing what's been going on in 2021? It's exactly what has been playing out all year, but it's going to be noticeable under this influence. I can't wait to see what happens with the political authorities in the state where I live. So keep an eye on that. Our rebellious attitude could somehow get the better of us under this influence as well. So watch out for male authority figures. Watch out for your own rebellious attitude getting a little too extreme that could get you in hot water. We've got to be careful and act with wisdom at this time. Note to self, act with caution around the 5th of November, everybody. Now, when Uranus is playing on the sun or the moon through an interaction like this, it can be connected to health. So for everybody, just check for weird illnesses developing. Be aware of that. Act with caution and care about, who you're interacting with and things like that. But awakening, liberation, changes to place of living, changes in hormones, these are all connected to Uranian influences on the sun and the moon. Going to be very potent under this energy. So what does a new moon in Scorpio look like? Well, new moons in Scorpio, and this is sort of leaving aside the whole Uranian influence, which we've just discussed in this chart. Just generally, a new moon in Scorpio is all about a rebirth in the realm of Scorpio in our life. Now, in this, let's say, example chart, Leo is the rising sign, for example, and Scorpio is the ruler of the 5th house. So it would mean a rebirth regarding home and family and 4th house things. We're going to talk about all of that stuff very soon when we do the all signs breakdown. But that's what I mean. Wherever Scorpio sits, that is going to be the place of rebirthing for you with this new moon energy in Scorpio. It could also mean emotional intimacy could be available to some people in a deeper way right now. So that might be lovely if you are in a relationship and you want to go deeper with it. You want something more powerful, more connected. The emotional intimacy could be enhanced. And that's for everyone, regardless of where Scorpio falls in your chart. It's about no more superficiality, no more pretense, no more surface level kind of interactions. It's about getting real, getting deep. It's about letting go of jealousies and obsessions and grudges. Now, Scorpio does have connections to all of those things and tends to cling on to those obsessions or those grudges or those jealousies. But the new moon, remember, is about releasing toxins from our life. These are emotional, toxic behaviors. It's time for releasing those. And that can be part of the intentions that you set in the ceremony. We're going to do a little ceremony in just a minute. So keep that in mind. You might be inspired under a Scorpio new moon to make some investments because Scorpio does have connection to investment. So you might be inspired to make some sort of new investment, but that can be financial, but it need not be only financial. It could be a new investment in your personal power, or a new investment in some sort of close bonded connection that you have with somebody else. So investment, what are you investing in? This is a time to perhaps, give a little more to whatever it is that you are investing in your life. And finally, in a Scorpio new moon energy, it's time to face your shadow self. What are you hiding? What are you suppressing? What are you not being true about, real about? This is when it can really come up for you to deal with now. So I mentioned that we're going to do a ceremony. Let's do ceremony together. Now I've put some shamanic drum beats on in the background of this ceremony. I hope they come through clearly enough to be heard. But Scorpio is the sign that rules shamanism. So I thought it was very appropriate to help us get in that meditative space. Now, if you want to do ceremony with us, that's wonderful. We'd love you to join us for this. We do a ceremony every month in our Patreon circles and our readings. But if you would prefer to skip through this, simply go to the All Signs reading, which is what's going to come up next in the course of this presentation. So the ceremony for the new moon in Scorpio to be conducted on the 7th of November after the new moon has occurred. So the point of ceremony is to create a right energy space. The right energy space for the new moon in Scorpio and all that it entails and all its energies to manifest in our life in healthy ways. The point of a Scorpio new moon ceremony is to raise ourselves to the highest vibration of Scorpio energy, to the phoenix emerging from the ashes. Scorpio is a water sign, so using water in your ceremony is important. You could do this by sitting by a stream or a lake or by the ocean. You could do this by drinking water during your ceremony or sipping on herbal tea. You could do this by entering into right energy space while you have a bath or a swim or a shower. Or you could simply fill a bucket or bowl with water and add some beauty or glamour to it in the form of floating candles, rose petals, drops of essential oil. If you are going to use candles for this ceremony, I would encourage you to use either water-coloured candles, blues and greens, if you wish, or you could use deep wine or deep red colour candles, which are the colour of Scorpio. You might like to sit in a circle of water emblems or some sort of scorpionic emblems. Think eagle feathers, which are representative of Scorpio. Anything deep red or wine in colour. You might even like to incorporate some Day of the Dead tokens or symbologies. Anything like this that you've gathered for this occasion, you can create a circle with or just put in an altar in front of you to generate the right energy space. You may like to put some shamanic drum beats on in the background for yourself, or you could use this meditation that we are currently, this meditation or ceremony that we are currently conducting as your guide. I would encourage you to put a timer on for as long as you want to dedicate to your ceremony or ritual. It could be 5 minutes, could be 10, whatever feels right to you. Once your timer is going, focus yourself on the energy of water, the water around you or in front of you. How does the bath water feel on your skin? What sounds is that bubbling brook making as you meditate on its movement? Swirl your bucket of water and lose yourself in its beautiful rhythmic momentum. As you gaze into the water, visualize your intentions relating to the Scorpio themes we discussed. You might like to have written down your Scorpio themes pertinent to you, and you might like to meditate on them now. Mindfully focus your thoughts on the energy of letting go of what hinders you, of releasing what holds you back from your fullest life. You might like to mindfully focus your thoughts on creating intimacy and depth of connection with others that you care about. You might like to mindfully focus your thoughts and visualize yourself being reborn in some way and starting afresh. Enjoy that feeling, the emotion of peace, the clarity, the connection with spirit, the mental rest as you focus on these things. Stay in that feeling for as long as you've allowed on your timer or as long as you desire. When you are ready, give thanks to the universe for the spirit of Scorpio energy at its highest level, manifesting in your life over the coming weeks. Thank you for joining me for a little ceremony there. You can use my words to guide you if you would like, or you can simply note down the ideas and use them for yourself in the time and space that you would choose to. But I hope it was a blessing. Let's go through all signs now. The new moon in Scorpio opposite Uranus on the 5th of November, or wherever you happen to be in your time zone in the world. This is where we can set intentions for positive manifestation. And what's that going to look like? It's going to look like a new energizing influence, catalyst for change in our life, sudden realizations and epiphanies, maybe some busy, new, exciting experiences that come into our lives. Maybe we might even meet new people or be in environments that surprise us in some way. And it's about being aware of the negatives also, and that can be experiencing sudden changes of plans, chaotic events, restlessness and impatience because of the Uranian influence here too, feeling a bit stifled or restricted perhaps in some way, needing to break free, having a rebellious attitude, people around us behaving a bit unpredictably due to Uranus as well, and there could even be tensions in relationships or feeling a little bit ungrounded. So that's the general gist. We're going to break it down for all signs. I hope you're ready. I am. Let's go. Okay, we have, if you are Scorpio rising, no surprises, this is occurring in your first house. So for you, it's going to be a very strong experience of needing to break free from something personally that may have been limiting you. So you might experience this need for independence, a rebelliousness that's pulling you very, very strongly in some way now. You've got to change the status quo. You've got to let go, and that might be changing your circumstances, your friendship circles, or it could even be changing the way you look. This is the house of appearance. So you might experience a big change to your image in some way. Now, this will usually be changes that you instigate coming from the self, not changes that are forced upon you in any way, because this is the house of you. So when change comes in with a new moon in your sign, it's going to come in from your own desire to shift the energy. So it could be quite exciting in that way. You get to use your self-will on the changes that come in. Now, be aware though that there could be some ostracization that comes with this, some confusion and some sort of distrust from others. Oh, what's going on with Kesenya? She's acting really strange lately, and look at how she's changed her whole image. She's got a Sandra D jacket on, you know. I should have dressed up like Sandra D, shouldn't I, for for the Halloween special or something like that. Maybe next year I need to get myself a blonde wig. But yes, my Sandy from Greece, not Sandra Dee, Sandy from Greece jacket. What's going on with that, you know? And people might be a bit distrustful or, you know, a bit confused about this. But you're going to be feeling in your truth, Scorpio, so you won't really mind so much this sort of from other people, because you'll be like, this is me, like it or lump it, guys, you know? So above all, it's going to be a liberating time. It's going to make you more authentic, this new moon in your sign. And there might be sudden starts, there might be sudden endings that happen in your life because of this. That's okay. It's time to get out of that rut, time to make those changes. And this is a cycle. This particular dynamic that we've got going on here can help liberate any Scorpionic people who are in addiction patterns or entrapment situations. You can break free and never go back now. So, you know, if there's anywhere in life where you're feeling bonded or held or stuck or restricted, this could be just what you need to shake you out of that rut for good. Very, very exciting in that way. So that's what we're seeing for our Scorpio rising sun or moon people. Once again, just I'll point out, you know, be prepared for sudden events, sudden changes, sudden epiphanies and realizations, and big catalysts that occur now because it's very strong when it's in your first house. You'll notice it. All right, we're going to move now to our Libra. Whoopsies, Libra rising sun or moon people. You're going to feel this energy potently in the realm of your second house. And it's during this period, you know, for the next week or so, that you might feel like you want independence with your income. You might decide, oh, I wish I was freelancing or contracting instead of being stuck, bonded to somebody else in employment circumstances or however you make your money. So you might feel better off doing that. I want you to weigh up those options. And if you do decide that's me, that's where I want to go, then, you know, maybe set intentions on the 7th to take strides forward into more independence with your income and how you generate that. There could be some disruptions to your stability that happen now because this is the house of stability and feeling grounded. But this is going to push you out of your comfort zone into new ways of making money and generating money in your life. And that could be very exciting in the long run. It just might feel like a bit of crazy making to begin with, an upheaval to begin with. Your value systems might become a little bit quirky under this influence too. And by that I mean things that you ordinarily wouldn't put a lot of store by. You might suddenly think, yeah, actually I could buy into that. That's me. It might be, I don't know, some sort of new art or that's a bit quirky, or music that you ordinarily wouldn't sort of value or appreciate, but suddenly it has an appeal to you. That could happen under this influence. You will be acting, or tend to sort of not acting, you might be more attracted to anything a bit revolutionary and bohemian in style now. So for Libran people, and I know this is not my usual look, but I felt like it today, and I'm a Libra Moon, so maybe I'm vibing into this energy already, being a bit revolutionary with how I'm dressing, you know, and it's fun and it's exciting and it's different, and we want to break out of the old routine for how we are vibing with our style, you know. So it's fun. It's a good energy if you want to utilize it that way. This is also a good energy for having some change in our financial situation. So for some Libran people, there can be a bit of a change in your financial circumstances, possibly for the better too. I don't see this as being potentially negative. I think that you might find sudden changes. Maybe suddenly you get an influx of orders for work, or suddenly you find something that you really want to purchase, and you're willing to part with a lot of money to purchase something of a big nature. So, but it will happen suddenly, you know, that catalyst for big unexpected change with things, with stuff, with money that can come your way. Could also be some sudden realizations about your budget, about how you're spending your money, and you might get a lot of insights that you may not have had before because of the energy here. There could be some restlessness. Again, we've talked about that, the need for independence with your financial situations, based on feeling a bit stifled, a bit stuck and frustrated with your financial situation. So that could occur too. Remember, the 7th of November will be a good time to do ceremony or set intentions for changes that you want to make financially in your life and rebudgeting things to work better for you. Okay, moving along to our Virgo friends, Virgo rising, sun or moon people. This energy is falling for you in the 3rd house, guys. So we've got a full moon in your 3rd house, which is Scorpio. This is the house of the mind in Vedic astrology and Western astrology too. And so there can be an awakening to new hobbies, awakening to new skills and bright new ideas. It's like your mind might wake up. You know, you might have not seen the truth because Scorpio wants to get to the bottom of things, wants to understand the depth of things, and Uranus wants to liberate you. So where you've been blind about things before, Virgo, suddenly this week with this new moon, the light bulb goes on and you see things clearly. You see the truth. You're liberated with your thought processes and how you think. Now, obviously, that could work with how you're perceiving the world, which is something that happens from the 3rd house. But it could also mean that you get an insight. You get an epiphany. You get a download. You get some kind of wisdom given to you that's quite from out there, you know, from the ethereal realms, from the spiritual realms, that just comes to you and shakes you out of your tree, shakes you up. And this is a good thing. It's going to, as I said, it's going to liberate you. So that's one thing that can happen with this transit. You might also get some unique associations and connections occurring. This is a very friendly house. There's 2 sort of houses of friendship, connections. This is neighborly friendships, and this is 11th house is big community connections. But in the 3rd house, it's these neighborly friendships. So there could be somebody unique or revolutionary or bohemian that comes into your sphere that you might create a friendship with. Enjoy that. Let that come in because it's going to do something special for you in your life if you encounter people like that. I will just say this is an energy that could bring some difficulties with siblings. This is, just something to be careful of. If you get along well with your siblings, maybe nothing will happen and you'll feel this in different realms or other ways. But if there's some tension already lingering in your life with siblings, it might be a good idea to reach out, to try to make amends, to try to rectify things. But yeah, if you don't do that, you might find that there's some really yucky, narky kind of energy at play that you really could be better off without. So forewarned, forearmed. Now also, because we're having an opposition from Uranus coming from the 8th house, the house of occult, and this is Scorpio, is your is a sign connected with the occult and shamanism and those deep mystical practices. Expect that you might suddenly get an enhanced mental interest in astrology, occult topics, metaphysics, esoteria. These sorts of things might suddenly become very intriguing to you. Curiosity is seen from the 3rd house, and you might just be, where's a book? Where's a documentary? I'm joining Gaia TV. I'm going to find out all I can about these mysterious realms of life. So don't be surprised to see that pop up for you too. And it could be very energizing for you to experience that and to go there. These things could be a catalyst for change in your life in some dynamic way as well. You could have sudden epiphanies, sudden realizations that come from your exploration of these ordinarily taboo or hidden kinds of topics. So enjoy those things. You're probably going to be very busy in your social life this week as well in some way. That's a good thing. Enjoy that. And as I said, there might be some very unusual circumstances with people that could really surprise you in your neighborhood or your friendships. Thanks, Virgo people. Now Leo. Leo rising, Leo sun, Leo moon people. Cha-ching, we've got I'm excited about this. I'm a Leo, and look, it's falling in our 4th house, guys. Well, I get excited, but I want to say that this energy where Uranus is opposing the new moon in the 4th house, it could actually bring a separation from family in some way. Now, I'm not saying there's a falling out. I'm not saying it's all over Red Rover with family, and this can be partners, this can be mothers, fathers, children, whatever. But there is this sort of pulling apart that can come with this energy. And so it could be that, your daughter goes away to camp for a week. It could be a separation like that. No big deal. But for some people, and this would have been building through other things. Maybe it could have been building through the eclipses back in the middle of the year. It could have come from the recent other new moon and full moon that we've had. It could have come from something else. There might have been a building towards an actual full-on separation or divorce. And if you're a Leo person, then this could be the catalyst to whatever may have been building if you've been kind of heading into that zone, especially if you have planets around 12 degrees. I don't like talking about the negatives, but this is one of the influences that this combination could see play out. Forewarned is forearmed. It's not going to play out this way for everyone. So just because you're a Leo person and you're married, don't start shaking in your boots and thinking, oh my God, they're going to leave me. No, it's only if there has been a building of that energy already happening, and then this is the catalyst that sees it occur. Okay, so there, and that might not happen for everyone. Like I said, there's different manifestations depending on your own natal chart and where the planets fall. But this is a general read, remember that. On the plus side, on the positive side, for some people, and I hope this is me, and this may indicate a relocation or a move of some sort of massive nature, and it will come suddenly, unexpectedly. The universe will say, hey, we've got your back, and here you go, and push you on your way, moving into something new to do with where you live, how you live, or your current domestic environment changing in some catalyst way that needs to happen. There could be big renovations that are a result of this energy. You might decide, I'm going to, replace my old roof. Time to get a tin roof and hear the rain falling on it at midnight. Lovely. So big renovations to a home that could occur through this energy. It's a difficult energy, though. Just keep in mind during this week to create some sort of settled, peaceful life. It's very much an energy of change and upheaval in that sphere of our life. So it can bring some liberation with regard to our place of living and the family. This liberation is going to be very energizing. This push from the universe that we get might be the catalyst for change that we've been waiting for. We might get some sudden realizations about where we live and who we're living with, and the life that we're, the domestic life that we've got going on. Might get a sort of epiphany about whether that's good or that needs to change or whatever. It's going to be a busy time in your domestic field, and with land and property. And it could also be a very important period of the year for you, Leo, with your emotional groundedness. You might feel a little bit ill at ease. You might feel like things are a bit out of control and a bit chaotic under this influence. Allow that to be the case. It's just an energy that will pass. You might find this tension within you. It's there emotionally to be felt in order to lead you to the new liberated state of being that the universe wants you to move to. So pay attention to your feelings and honor how you feel. Don't ignore it or suppress it or push it down, because that's acting in the opposite way of how we can work with Scorpio energies at the highest level. Okay, Cancer rising, sun or moon people. You have the energy of the new moon falling in your 5th house. Well, this is a great placement to have a new moon falling in the 2nd luckiest house of the horoscope, and it could bring, for Cancer people, surprising romantic experiences. I like this. Wishing I was a Cancer person. But, surprising romantic experiences. Now, that could be from somebody that you love. It could be from your husband or your wife who surprises you with some sort of date night or, a gift of some sort, or a beautiful letter that they've written, or a poem that they've constructed for you, or something romantic and beautiful that comes out of the blue. If you are single, this could bring a surprising romantic event as well. Now, I don't know about you guys. I think this was a worldwide ad for a deodorant brand called Impulse. And, you see these sorts of things in deodorant ads and stuff all the time in Lynx and that as a men's deodorant. And Impulse, which is the female deodorant. But I remember as a teenager watching them, spray on the impulse, and off they'd go, the woman would go walking down the street, and then a guy would suddenly rush up and give her flowers. And I'm like, well, how come that doesn't happen in real life, you know? My teenage mind thought that it happened all the time, thanks to the impulse ad. But who knows, under Uranus's opposition to the new moon in Scorpio, Cancer, you might receive some flowers. Be sure and wear your impulse deodorant. Okay, so these sorts of fun, exciting things could happen. A sudden new romance, somebody sweeps you off your feet kind of stuff. Some people who are looking to conceive children might do very well under this influence. So, if you are a Cancer person and you're family oriented and you're hoping to start a family and you think it's a good time and what have you, well, why not go for it? There would need to be a lot of analysis done of your natal chart to know whether it's going to actually work or not. But this general configuration around the 7th, remember the moon is less likely to manifest things when it is invisible. The moon rules motherhood and family. You're more likely to get results you're after if you wait until the 7th of November. But this is an energy for potentially conceiving children if you go when the moon becomes visible. Fun, fun, fun. So there can be also, for those of us who are not looking to have any more kids, thank you very much, an increase in quirky creativity, an increase in artistic influences, particularly an attraction to bohemianism or left of center subcultures and subculture type art groups like lowbrow art would be mostly seen with this opposition from Uranus. You know, Uranus rules cartoon art, one of my favorite kinds of art. I mean, I love all art. I studied art in year 12, and I love, you know, the Renaissance painters and the Impressionists and all those. I love all that stuff. But the art that I have in my house tends to be shag art. If you know who Shag is a Palm Springs artist, and I love his work. Very Uranian kind of art is anything cartoony and stylized that way. So you might suddenly develop an interest and a passion for some quirky art that's really left of center and not really mainstream now. So yeah, fun, enjoy. So again, this can be a new moon for change and a catalyst for change, maybe in the dynamic that you have with your lovers, and the dynamic that you have with your children even as well. You might get sudden epiphanies, sudden realizations about your children, about your partners, or about your creative interests and your creative pursuits and your hobbies and what brings you joy. Suddenly, you get a download from the universe about how you can make these things better or how you can work with them better. People like your children and lovers can surprise you, but do be careful. There could be some chaotic events that might unfold because of this Uranus opposition as well with those people. You know, things are going crazy with the kids. You know, you love them, they're surprising you, they're full of quirky, out of the blue whatevers, and yet they're sort of so busy and so hectic, and there's sudden changes of plans unfolding all week, and you're just like, whoa, what the heck's going on here? Thanks, Uranus. You people in this sphere can feel a bit restless and impatient too. So, you know, you might have a lover who's impatient to be with you, or a lover who is just excited to, run up and give you flowers, that sort of thing. There's a restlessness, there's an impatience there that hopefully can be utilized for good. We are getting into the sphere now of the other. So a lot of what I'm talking about now moves from the self, instigating changes and instigating these kinds of epiphanies and experiences, to other people being the influence on our life to bring about changes and epiphanies and sudden chaotic events and so on and so on. So now, thank you for that, Cancer. We're going to move to Gemini rising, sun or moon people. And the energy of this new moon is falling in your 6th house, Gemini. So this is the house, one of the houses that's connected to weight. The first house of the body is, and so is the 6th house of health. And so for Gemini people, you might actually lose a bit of weight. Remember, I spoke in the intro about how this is a detoxification energy under the new moon. You might find suddenly you let go of a lot of fluid you've been hanging on to, and you jump on the scales and you're 5 kilos lighter or something. Wouldn't that be nice? So here we are, you can lose some weight under this energy, but you've got to watch your health, don't dehydrate through not drinking enough water when the body is flushing things out. Make sure, as I said in the intro, you eat clean and light and fresh, and do check out the intro because I spoke a lot about health, and you'll need to know this because it's occurring in the sign of health for you. There can also be some serious shake-ups to your routines, Gemini. Big changes to routine, and maybe liberation of certain, being stuck in a rut routines that you've had, and you need to sort of make changes to feel better, to feel freer, to feel lighter. There might be sudden changes in your work life, so don't be surprised if you see that happen. You could also receive some bright new downloads and innovations that you can utilize in your career or your working life, or even relationships with your with superiors, no, not with superiors, sort of, if you're a boss, your relationship with your employees or people who are working for you in some way. There might be new innovations that you can bring to a dynamic that you've got there, new insights, new understandings of how these people that you employ are working for you. There might be sudden changes to a health schedule that you're on, might suddenly change your diet. You might suddenly change, how you're working out at the gym, or instead of going to the gym, you might think, I want to go for a bike ride out in the sunshine. So I'll get on your bike and away you go. It can be a shift and an energetic change. And maybe that's healthy. Maybe it's time for stirring things up. Uranus opposition this moon, stirring things up, getting you out of a rut. Very energizing influence, this particular moon. It's a catalyst for change, and especially if you take action to change these things around the 7th, a couple of days after the new moon, then it's going to stick with you for the long term, and so it's good to make these changes to better your life, to make things more efficient and productive, and they're going to stick with you for the long term and be beneficial in the long term. You might have a sudden realization, I need to get out of this going to the gym every second day, and I need to mix it up because I'm just getting too bulky. Need to get some lean muscle, so you make a change. Sudden epiphany, sudden realizations that occur. Don't be surprised, and I do have to talk about the negatives as well. This new moon could bring in somebody who is a bit rebellious into your sphere, gives you a hard time, acting in an unpredictable way. That can occur, and it could give some tension in relationships. This is the house of enemies and difficulties in relationship. So there could be some tensions and feeling ungrounded with any relationship, not just intimate ones. It could be colleagues, it could be neighbors, it could be children, it could be just difficulties with others who are stirring up the pond, so to speak. All right, so Taurus rising sun or moon people, we are looking at the energy of this new moon falling in your 7th house. So this is quite a lovely placement to have a new moon, because it can mean that someone will come into your life who's going to shake you out of a rut in a good way, as opposed to Gemini, who had this falling in the 6th house, where someone could shake them out of a rut with a bit of difficulty and challenge. For you guys, it could happen in a pleasant manner. So it could be a new lover. It could be that you meet your next life partner. You'd need to have a few other things going on in your chart to cause that to happen. But for some people, it might be one of the catalysts. But it could also be a business partner that gets you out of sort of a rut where you're not earning enough money, and suddenly someone comes in and collaborates with you, and boof, rocket launch into some fabulous new destiny together. Could look like that, or it could be a new client that starts to spruik your work all over town, and suddenly you've got people knocking down your door to come and get a tarot reading from you or something. Somebody shakes you out of a stuck situation. So it's a lovely new moon in that regard. Relationships also are likely to change with this particular energy, and in a dynamic way. So I like this. I think this is really good, because if you're in a relationship, and you might, let's face it, a lot of relationships can get a few cobwebs after a while. Well, this is one of those particular dynamics that could sweep away those cobwebs, blow some fresh wind through the windows of that relationship, and, a scented spring breeze coming into the house. So things could change and for the better with this particular energy. Now, it could be also not just personal relationships, but work relationships, business relationships, friendship relationships. But no matter which relationship, the change that comes with this new moon is going to be fast and it's going to be life-changingly liberating. So, I mean, maybe that could mean that a relationship has to end, that could be a change that needs to occur. I don't know, your relationship situation might be calling for that, whatever the circumstance might be. But whatever it is, it's going to be fast and life-changing, and you're going to feel good about it, free. You know that feeling when you walk away from something, if something does end for you, you walk away and you just feel lighter, having let that go? Could be like that. Now, if you are someone who finds that a new relationship comes in with this energy, well, because of Uranus's influence, you might find that it is a bit of an on-again, off-again relationship or a long-distance relationship. There might even be some relationship taboos that are broken with this one. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad, but it could be not what you're expecting. Remember I said in the intro, expect the unexpected. Uranus is involved in this. It's not going to be predictable. So flow with whatever happens. Let it happen. And it's here for your liberation. It's here for your highest good. There might be some new epiphanies that you receive because of this. Busy, exciting experiences, fascinating people, catalysts for change. It could all be for the better. So hang in there, go with it. And if plans change and chaotic events unfold, just know, oh, here we go. Taurus is not overly good with the chaotic events thing, but just remind yourself, oh, okay, it's the Scorpio New Moon. I'm just going to go with this because it will pass. All energies do. It will pass if you're not coping too well with the chaos that it might bring relationally. But generally, like I said, it's going to shake you out of a rut. For our Aries rising sun or moon people, we are seeing the energy fall in the 8th house. So when the new moon is falling in the 8th house and it's opposed by Uranus, well, this is going to potentially bring sudden changes to our inheritance situations. That's an 8th house theme. So it could be something to do with taxes. It could be, that's not inheritance, but it's other people's money, inheritances, or how your partner's money is going. I mean, do check in with your partner. If you're in a marriage or a business partnership, check in. How are their finances? Everything okay? Nothing too untoward, that could bring some upheavals to that realm. You might get a sudden inheritance. Grandma might leave you her record collection or something like that, or if you're into vinyl records. You might suddenly find that you've inherited a debt from a family member, and nobody wants that, of course, but Scorpio New Moon and Uranus can bring the unexpected, so could go either way, couldn't it? But it is also, in the positive, a really good time to quit any bad habits and make some serious life changes that are going to better things for you. So if you're smoking and you want to give it up, then maybe under the new waxing moon, which will occur on the 7th, I spoke about that in the introduction, maybe quit and set your intention and take your action to quit smoking or drinking or, I don't know, a porn addiction or whatever it happens to be that you're struggling with. Let it go around the 7th and you're going to be supported by the universe to break free from those things and to make seriously healthy life changes. Sounds good to me. It's also a good time if you are into investments. This is a house of investments. You might like to explore the idea of investing in Uranian things. Here's Uranus's influence in the house of money. So that could be, investing in, backing an alternative political party, or looking at electronics perhaps, or something on the internet. You might like to invest in somebody's Patreon page. This is all about other people's money, and you might like to support somebody. It's not necessarily a charitable sign, but you might see it as a good investment, that you're going to get a return for your money. Maybe I'll use mine as an illustration, my Patreon page. You're going to get lots more astrological teaching, a very 8th house theme. You're going to get a lot. You might get an astro wheel, because one of the levels of my Patreon page offers my astro wheel for members. So these sorts of things. There might be an investment you can make in somebody else, or electronics, as I said, the internet, astrology, alternative politics. anything a bit unusual, anything a bit Uranian, and left of center, anything bohemian, bohemian artists you might like to support, or musicians, that kind of stuff. Could be quite fun. But whatever you do with your money and investments, whatever you do with regard to quitting bad habits, whatever you do regard to even creating intimacy with somebody, it's the house of intimacy. And some astrologers believe that the 8th house actually is much more of a house of marriage than the 7th. They see the 7th house as the house of the contract of marriage, and the 8th house the house of the intimate relationship, which is, of course, the substance of marriage. So you might bring some sort of catalytic change to an intimate relationship, have a sudden realization about an intimate relationship in some way. You might find that it energizes an intimate relationship, this new moon. There could be some chaos in an intimate relationship, some restlessness with an intimate relationship, or feeling stifled by an intimate relationship simply because of this new moon being opposite to Uranus. So don't be surprised if there's some tension there and feeling a little bit ungrounded. It is an energy that will pass, and focus your intention onto the better things of this energy. If you're struggling with the intimacy thing, focus your energy on changing bad habits, and put your attention and your focus there to make positive life change. Anyhow, thank you, Aries. Now we're looking at our wonderful Pisces people, Pisces rising, sun or moon people. The energy of this new moon is falling in the luckiest house in the horoscope for Pisces, the 9th house. Now, this is the house of the father in the Vedic system, or one of the houses of the father. And here, because we've got the new moon occurring in the house of the father, and it's opposed by erratic Uranus, we might feel ourselves at a distance with our father. We might feel like we're just not connecting, not on the same wavelength, feeling a bit of erraticism from our father. Our father might behave erratically or a bit unusually, a bit disruptively in some way. So that's one of the manifestations. It may not happen for everybody, but it is potentially there. There can also be some disruptions to education. I, for one, who am Pisces rising, and I've been trying my hardest to spend time doing a particular course for the last couple of weeks now, and I just can't seem to find space for it. There's just so much else going on in Victoria right now that's distracting me, but it's just been so difficult to get into that space for learning, and I don't see that that's going to ease off this week with this disruptive energy being directed at education and learning. So forewarned, forearmed, I'm not going to beat up on myself if I again don't get the time this week to do the course that I want to do. You might like to do the same. But it can be good, a good transit, because this is a blessed house. This is a good transit for people who are highly Uranian or in Uranian careers, like astrologers, like researchers, like scientists, people who work with networks and systems, people who work with the internet or on the internet in some way, people who are in humanitarian sort of not-for-profit organizations and stuff like that. This can be a really good transit for those people who are going to be able to enhance what they do and increase the blessing in what they do. So that could be fantastic. Now, if you're feeling stuck at this time, and you have the means to do so, I don't, but some other people might, it's really good to travel to a foreign country. Have a break. Like if you live in Portugal and you think, feeling like, just so stuck, you might I'm going to jump on a plane and I'm going to go, to Estonia for the weekend. Does Estonia still exist? I think it does. You jump on a plane, go to Norway, go to Denmark, or go to somewhere, because of course in Europe you have access very closely to those countries. So it could be very energizing to do a bit of travel under this influence. You might like to undertake also a higher, area of learning in a Uranian influenced field. That could be very liberating for you as well. So you might like to do a short astrology course. There's plenty on my website if you want to do one of my courses. That'd be great. But, somebody else might have a fabulous astrology course you've been wanting to do. You might like to do a course because Scorpio's involved, maybe a short, I don't know if there is such a thing, but a short course in criminology. Do one subject of a criminology course or something like that, or psychology, do a short psychological counseling taster course or something like that. That could be very liberating if you're feeling stuck under this energy. And things you might find because of this energy in the ninth house might manifest quite suddenly or out of the blue. An opportunity for travel. One day you didn't have a ticket, the next day it's landed in your lap and you're off on the plane. It could be that an opportunity to study something might land in your lap. Even if you don't get time to actually do that course straight away, the opportunity might be there for you to utilize in the future. That kind of thing. So don't be surprised to see things happening quickly. But whatever you study, wherever you travel, wherever you immerse yourself in another culture, it's going to be very energizing. It's going to introduce you to a lot of new, exciting and interesting people that might be very surprising for you. You might really be like, wow, I didn't think I'd experience that or expect that, but that's really great. So something to look forward to, Pisces, something that you can utilize with this energy. For Aquarius rising, sun or moon people, we're seeing the energy of the new moon falling in your 10th house, up the top of the horoscope here. And of course, this is the house of career and social reputation and our path to success. Now, this is a restless energy and it's quite a cataclysmic energy with the opposition from your ruling planet in modern astrology. Uranus rules Aquarius. You might find that you suddenly quit your career. You quit your career, you change your job, or you're inspired to just have I'm not going to work in this department anymore. I'm going to go and work in the mail room or something, and you completely changed the dynamic of your career in some way under this influence potentially. You can work under this influence, creating now for you a dream career that's authentic to you. I'll just point out again, if you've listened to the intro, you'll know about this, but you don't want to take action to initiate any change while the moon is invisible. If you're going to do something like this, you're going to need to wait until the 7th of November when the moon becomes visible and your actions and your intentions can actually see better results. Okay? So you could find something that feels more authentic and real to you that's worth pursuing. You could receive a quick rise to fame. Some people might become YouTube sensations. They wake up and overnight they've suddenly had 100,000 new followers. I actually do know a couple of YouTubers who've seen that happen. I follow, everybody who watches my videos knows I have a thing for the chateau renovation YouTube channels. And a couple of the guys I follow have had cataclysmic changes that have occurred within a week to their follower levels. So it does happen, and you might be one of those people this week to see an occurrence like that with all this energy that's unfolding. You could become even some sort of a revolutionary leader, Aquarius, in some sort of social scene, which is very much your thing anyway, but with this influence, it's likely to play out. So if you've been working in a humanitarian cause or as an activist, taking a front foot with sort of rallying people for worthy causes, just causes, then you might even get a step up in that kind of actions, those sort of actions and those sort of intents this week, and sort of have a really forefront role. You might be invited to speak, for example, on a big YouTube channel talking about corruption. Like, let's say Russell Brand asked you to come in and talk about anarchism or something, and in you went and talked about it, and suddenly you had all these followers and you were the leader of a new movement of modern anarchism against global terrorism or something, or against, corporational terrorism is what I mean, not global. I could go on, but I will not. I'll restrain myself. But that could happen for Aquarians under this influence this week. Very energizing. Could bring some chaos, but that's okay. Maybe it's chaos that needs to happen. There's some restlessness here. There's a rebellious attitude here that is going to be very helpful. You might find that there's a bit of tension, but you can turn this tension to your favor to make change and propel you into success that you might be desiring to experience. So things could be very surprising in that way for you, Aquarius people. Okay, Capricorn, rising sun or moon people, thank you for sticking with us. We're getting towards the end of our reading now. Capricorn are going to see the new moon falling in their 11th house, and it's opposing Uranus in the 5th house. So if you're feeling stuck, then the way out of it this week, Capricorn people, is to be some sort of mentor for others. You know, get alongside that younger person at work and encourage them and give them some guidance and give them some help. You will feel invigorated by that. Or join a political movement or an inspirational movement or some kind of a humanitarian organization or purposeful cause where you can feel like you're contributing and making a difference. This new moon will excite you in that regard and propel you into those sorts of circumstances this week. There'll be an energy behind you to do that. You might experience also, because this is a house of friendship and this is a sign of change and a new moon of change opposite a planet of change, could be some changes in friendships. Could be also some changes in earnings from career. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be negative. You might suddenly get a brand new circle of friends to add to all your old ones, and suddenly you've got a ton of acquaintances that you never expected you'd have. You might suddenly get a pay rise or an offer of work that's going to give you a contract that you never saw coming, and it's going to really set you up. Something could happen that shifts the energy with friendships and shifts the energy with earnings. And I've given you two positive illustrations there. But don't be surprised, because Uranus is always the unexpected, if it may go the other way. It's like I don't know, which one of the scales is Uranus going to fall on, We don't know. But we do know that there's going to be shifts and there's going to be change. Now, that can be energizing. It can propel you forward. It could give you hope. It could also bring some chaos. Forewarned is forearmed. But you can also, and this is very likely to be the case, you are also likely to experience some sort of inspiration from your friendships and from like-minded people under this influence. So your friends might just drop a word or a sentence and you're like, that's the answer. Now I know. I've got to work on that, or I want to take action in that, or whatever. There could be an epiphany. Uranus loves to give epiphanies. An epiphany that comes through a friendship or a friendship circle or a network that you're part of in some way. It could be very energizing, sudden realizations, busy new experiences, catalysts for change. You might be feeling a bit rebellious and you and your friends want to rah for your liberty and your freedom and so on. That's fine too if that's what occurs. That's the energy of the moment. If you feel stifled or restricted, then reach out to your friends. Connect with others, because this is a very social house. And it's through connections that you can break that tension that might be there with this Uranus influence upon the new moon in Scorpio. All right, thanks Capricorn. Now, our beautiful Sagittarian friends who've waited till last, thank you guys so much for hanging in there. We have the new moon in Scorpio occurring in your 12th house opposite Uranus in your 6th house. So this is an energy where you might find, and it could be quite exciting, that you break out of some sort of bondage or isolation in some way. There's a liberated energy that comes through Uranus's influence to this Scorpio new moon. So if you've been feeling, it's not just, you've been in prison and you're going to break out. That's a very literal interpretation. But it could be a very metaphoric interpretation. Maybe you felt stuck in your job or in some sort of contractual bondage to another person. Maybe, wife, husband. You might have felt bonded to, a particular parental role in some way. And it's heavy and it's burdensome and it's made you feel isolated, whatever the circumstance. Well, this is a breaking free kind of energy. Love it. Love the liberated energy of Uranus. Now, if you're not feeling this way, but you know other people who are, you might be the catalyst this week, Sagittarius people, to help others break free from their limiting beliefs, from their past actions, from their bondages and their sense of isolation and loneliness. Wow, great privilege if that's what you've been called to, or if you get the opportunity to help someone in some way in that regard. This is also the house of past life memories, if you're a believer in a reincarnation, as I am. You might be bursting out of some sort of past life memories. They could come up for you. You don't know what they are. Like you might have a vivid dream. You know those vivid dreams that we can get and it just feels so real and we wake up in a cold sweat or something. This bursting out, it could be like through a dream or through one of those goosebump moments, where we have that past life recollection that occurs and we're liberated from whatever it was that was all about by revisiting it and letting it go, letting it flow through us and freed. You may not know that this is what's happening, but it's very much a 12th house behavioral thing. There could be some personality traits that come out in you and you're like, where did that come from? I didn't think I'd ever say that or do that. Could be a past life personality trait coming through as well. And there's this freedom that wants to come through with this liberation, Uranus, liberation from this as well. So don't be surprised to see those things occurring. There could be some sleep disruptions. Uranus influencing a new moon in your house of sleep and dreams. If you don't have, if you're not up and down all night and restless and tossing and turning, then you might be having those vivid dreams that I talk about that disrupt your sleep. So don't be surprised to see that happen. So there could be some chaotic events that unfold because of what I've just described here. That's okay. It will pass. This is a passing energy. It's not a permanent state of being. You might feel a bit ungrounded. And if you do, then maybe, go out and walk barefoot on the grass or loll in the sunshine and read a book while you eat an apple or something on the back lawn. Just take time out to ground yourself in whatever way works well for you. And some people find, it doesn't have to be connected to the earth to ground ourselves. This is a very visual house. It's a house of very strong imagination. So you might see and visualize white light around you or some sort of force field or shield protecting you, or you might see your feet growing roots and standing strong on the earth, unable to be moved from what your convictions are. Those kinds of things are other ways we can ground ourselves that doesn't actually require getting our hands stuck into the earth in the garden or anything. So you might like to utilize some of those activities as well to liberate yourself from where you're feeling a bit restless and unsettled and out of sorts. So thank you one and all for journeying with me around the horoscope for this week's new moon in Scorpio. If you would like to join us for more new moon reports in the future, thanks for joining me, and I'll have another astro weather report for you next week.